Hello everybody, this is Anthony Rojas, and for my presentation today, or my maps, we're going to be going over haunted places in America. Majority of them are in California, but I'll be traveling across to the East Coast and getting you guys, a little bit of information about these different places. Now, all these are not scientifically proven. They are all just, based off of people's experiences, but I will be going the history over these separate locations as well. So, the first place we are going to be talking about is the Winchester Mystery House. So you can go ahead and get started. Now, the Winchester House, if you're familiar with the Winchester Firearm Company, they pretty much own this house. Now, Sarah Winchester and her husband William, Sarah ended up becoming a widow after her husband passed away. She sought out to see a psychic medium. The medium basically told her that your family is haunted and cursed, and there's really nothing you could do about it other than be careful with the way you live. Obviously, with Sarah being a widow, this pretty much terrified her, so she ended up moving out here to San Jose, California, where she got the idea to build this house. This house started construction in 1884, and it ended in 1906. The thing is, with this house, it never ended its construction for a good 22 years. The reason for this is because Sarah felt that if she stopped building onto this house, that she will eventually die, because she was just freaked out that these spirits are going to get her. Now, this is Sarah right here. This is the only known photograph or portrait of her, besides other ones that are like, hand-drawn and stuff like that, or painted portraits, but this is her. As you can see, this mansion is massive. The unique thing about this mansion is that there's a lot of stuff in here that don't make any sense. One of the ones being a door that leads to literally nowhere. Now, the reason why there's a bunch of trap doors and all these other stuff is because she wanted these spirits that were cursing her to get as lost and confused as possible, so they wouldn't find her at all. So as you may notice here, there's doors that literally lead to nowhere. There's staircases that lead to nowhere as well, or multiple different staircases in one area. Looks like there actually is a mirror right here, which is pretty interesting. Probably just for, people could see that the staircases lead to nowhere, and other things like that. Now, the haunting stuff that goes around in this place, a lot of people that work here, since it's now open as a functioning museum, anyone could visit it. A lot of people hear footsteps. They hear sounds if there's a staff working inside the kitchen, although no one ever works in that kitchen. Some guests and staff tend to hear whispering. They hear doors closing, and they overall feel a feeling of being watched. So this obviously freaks people out, makes it a pretty good place to visit if you're into the paranormal and other things like that. This next picture, not too sure if it's real or not, could be what someone believed is a ghost. But as you can see, this is a photo of one of the rooms inside the Winchester Mystery House. Now, this area right here is circled because whoever took this picture believes that in this mirror right here, there is a silhouette of someone's face right here. Now, who knows if it's real or not? That's just what people think it is. Could be a reflection, just in the perfect angle and stuff like that. But that's going to be our first spot we're going to visit. So we could go ahead and leave good San Jose, California, and travel all the way to Denver, Colorado with our second location. Now, this second location, if you're a big horror movie fan, this is the Stanley Hotel. Now, the Stanley Hotel is a unique hotel, as it was the inspiration for The Shining. Now, if you're a big fan of that movie or that book, you're going to probably like this one. Now, this hotel was built in 1907, and its construction finished in 1909. Stephen King and his wife Tabitha, when they stayed in this hotel, they were the only ones that stayed in this hotel, as they were the last guests to check in due to the winter season coming along. Sorry, my dog just skedaddled across the floor. It was kind of funny. As they were, this hotel was closing for the winter, and no one else is going to be able to check it out. Stephen King and his wife Tabitha stayed in room 217. Not the same as 237, but 217. It basically sparked the inspiration for this, for The Shining, which is how this hotel was built. The feeling it gave Stephen King. He felt there's like an eerie, odd presence to this hotel, and he looked inside the bathroom of his room, saw that the bathtub was really unique, and just thought to himself, what if someone died in this hotel bathroom right here? And that kind of led in his imagination to start flowing with different possible book ideas. One night He was staying inside his hotel room with his wife. This isn't room 217, this is just a random room. But he had a horrible nightmare that his 3-year-old son was being chased down the hallway in this hotel with a fire hydrant hose. Don't know why that was his nightmare, but it freaked him out enough and started getting his creation going. Now, if you're familiar, there is 2 different Shining movies. The one by Stanley Kubrick is more or less like what Stanley Kubrick envisioned it. There's also another one that Stephen King was very, very more a part of, and there's a scene in there where there's a hose with teeth, and it's unique and weird. But this is a Stanley Hotel. This is a picture that someone took in this circled area. They claim that no one was in this photo when they took it, and that this just randomly appeared once they took the photo. To me, I'm a little skeptical. It looks a little too real to be a spirit of some sort. Then again, I don't know what a spirit looks like, but this looks like someone just standing and pose, and they look like they put a lot of grain on it. But who knows if it's real or not. That's what they see. These are other pictures of the hotel. So you can see it has that very fun vintage look to it with the wallpaper and the crown moldings and these really cool beds. The swimming pool. Overall, it just gives off a really eerie vibe. Pretty cool looking old cars and other things like that. So we could go ahead and say goodbye to the Stanley Hotel, and now we're going to travel to Rhode Island, where this house right here was the inspiration for the movie The Conjuring. Now, The Conjuring is a newer movie. It came out not too long ago. This house is a Harrisville home located in Rhode Island, like I said a little bit earlier. This house was built in the 18th century, and it belonged to 8 generations of family at that time. In the 70s, the Perrin family, which are right here, Carolyn and Roger, ended up moving their 5 daughters into this home right here. The thing is with this home, there's a lot of history behind it. However, I'll just skip to the paranormal stuff. Sometimes the daughters will wake up in this home with the feeling of or smelling of like horrible stenches. Sometimes the girls would feel their bed shake and other things like that. But who was primarily attacked by this the most was the mother right here, Carolyn. There was 2 paranormal investigators that ended up helping them out. I'll get to them in just a second. But the mom ended up doing a bunch of research into this home, was the one that found out that there were so many generations behind this home. And there's one person in particular she felt drawn to, and her name was Bathsheba Sherman. Now, Bathsheba Sherman was a real individual. She was a real person. As you can see in this next picture, there is her gravestone right here, which is not too far from where the actual house is. The thing is Carolyn believed that Bathsheba Sherman, and other people believe as well, that Bathsheba was a satanic worshiper, and that she actually drowned her kid and also ate it at the same time. That's what I read online. Fortunately, there is not evidence to back that up. So don't know where that rumor came from, but a lot of people, especially if they're into paranormal, really believe that this is woman is real, and that she's a satanic worshiper and all these other things. Now, these 2 investigators right here are Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed and Lorraine Warren were famous paranormal investigators. Ed was a demonologist, and Lorraine was a psychic medium. Together, they would go to these separate locations and try to go and help these families out, or whoever is getting affected by whatever they're getting involved with. One night, they did a seance in this home, and the oldest daughter wasn't supposed to be watching, but she was in the back corner of the room while everything was going on. It was these 2, Carolyn and Roger, and I think one other person. But as they were doing the seance, the mom, while she was sitting there, her chair began levitating, and it claimed that she was thrown against a wall. The unique thing that happened with this is that they all thought that the mom died on impact because of how hard she hit the wall. They said it sounded like she hit cement, and she was unconscious for a while. The oldest daughter saw all this, was freaked out by it, and eventually wrote a book about her entire experience here called House of Darkness, House of Light. It's a trilogy book. I've only read the first one, but I know it's pretty cool. Now, this is the inside of the house at some points. A paranormal investigating couple ended up purchasing this home a little bit later. They now rent it out to paranormal investigators to do their research, and it's basically a tourist attraction now. But as you can see, This house is very, very old. This little homage right here is to a famous um, paranormal story. If you're familiar with the story of Annabelle, that's pretty much what this story is. Um, oh, sorry, the gardener's coming in, so I might get a little loud in just a second to try to get through these next things quick. Um, but yeah, this isn't the real Annabelle. This is just a fake one. And then I have another picture of the inside as well. Definitely very freaky. So we could go ahead and move on, not too far, to New York's, and this is going to be the Amityville house. Now, this house has a lot of history, but we'll just go into the two main things that this house really focuses on. Now, on November 13th, 1974, this is the house as well. The DeFeo family was brutally murdered. The one thing that stands out from the story the most is the one who carried out this murder was their oldest son, Ronald J. DeFeo Jr. Now, Ronald DeFeo Jr. killed all of his entire family, shooting them in their sleep. This caught the whole world by surprise because there's such a graphic murder to happen at this time. It was just a horrible murder. He died not too long ago, I think in 2021, while he was in custody. But yeah, so that's the first part of this history of this house. We could flash forward back to December of 1975. This is a picture of the night of that murder. Now, here we have George and Kathy Lutz and their 3 children and their little dog. Now, soon after those murders in December of 1975, they ended up moving into this home only to stay there for 28 days and leaving after that 28th day because of what they have experienced. Now, the DeFeo family's furniture from the family that was previously murdered, some of their furniture was still inside this home. It was part of the deal that they got with this house. So that was another reason why, because they were able to get this house for so cheap that they ended up moving in. Once they found out about the history of this house, the parents knew of a priest, family friend, and they insisted on blessing the house. Now, a real life priest ended up coming into this home. The thing is as they were blessing this house, they heard a deep masculine voice say, "Get out," and that was the first thing they experienced. Soon after that, the priest ended up developing blisters and have other health issues and other things like that. While the family was staying here, they claimed that they heard doors being closed and being ripped off the hinges, cabinets slamming, and they also claimed to see slime oozing from the ceiling and the stairs. Who knows if that's real or not? To me, it sounds a little too good to be true, I guess, and other things like that. The dad would wake up at 3:15, being paralyzed, but hearing his children screaming in the room or hearing their beds shaking against the walls and other things like that. So he was pretty much freaked out by that. And they eventually decided to leave right after that. Ed and Lorraine Warren, the couple that was also helping out with The Conjuring, ended up coming into this house, doing a few investigations there, but I guess something horrible happened to the wife, so they never talk about it, and they will never bring it up. Unfortunately, Ed and Lorraine Warren are both gone, and no one knows what happened while they were in there. Some ghost things that happened in this house. This next picture is a little freaky, but this is what someone took while they were investigating this house. Now it shows a picture of a small boy over the ledge of the staircase right here. They claim there's no other people in this house, so when they took this picture, they're definitely very, very freaked out. As you can see, it's a very vivid picture of a young boy, but what stands out to me the most is that this young boy looks like the youngest family member that was murdered by his older brother. So that's the Amityville house, and that's it for the East Coast. Now we're going to travel all the way back over to California, a little bit closer to us, in San Diego, where I will now be talking about the Whaley House. Now, the Whaley House was built in 1857. It was owned by Thomas Whaley, and at the time, this is the finest house in Southern California. The reason why for that is because this was the first house to have a commercial theater, a courthouse, and a general store all in this home right here. So you can see there's the house right there. This is a theater. This is a ghost picture I'll get into in just a second. More pictures of the home. Very, very fun. Here's the courthouse as well. Pretty stereotypical things. People hear doors closing. They feel a presence of children in here. Since this was a courthouse, people were punished here, and there was a gallows not too far from here. So if people were sentenced to hanging, they would, you know, get hung not too far from this area right here. There's a spirit there. I forget his name, but they claim to hear his spirit there. Some people feel the sensation of being choked, which is also kind of freaky and stuff. And yeah, so these are other pictures. More inside of the house. Definitely gives off a very weird vibe. A lot of the stuff in here is original. So if you're going here, you're literally walking into like a time capsule of the 1800s. And here's a ghost picture. This one looks really, really freaky right here. You can see vividly a picture of a face, and yeah, it's creepy. Cool. So that is it for the Whaley House. Now we're going to go over to Long Beach, which is a little bit closer to us, and I will be talking about the Queen Mary. Now, the Queen Mary was built in the late 1920s through the early 1930s. It was a British ocean liner, and it sailed across the North Atlantic Ocean. Its main purpose was to transport troops to other areas of the country, or of the world, basically. And it also carried passengers and stuff like that. Its last voyage was in 1967, where it permanently docked and now stays in Long Beach, California. It now serves as a museum, hotel, and an overall tourist attraction. There's restaurants and stuff you could go into. It's really, really cool. As you can see, it has long corridors. It's a huge boat. A lot of different rooms and stuff like that. The ghost story and stuff behind it. This swimming pool right here is a pretty freaky pool. I've been in it a few times, and I just get an overall creepy feeling from it. Now, the legend behind this is that a young girl who goes by the name of Jackie drowned in this pool, and people say to see her spirit running around this area or around the boat and stuff like that. Who knows if it's true or not. Still pretty freaky to talk about. Here's another picture of what someone caught to believe a spirit in down this hall looking at something. A lot of people tend to see people dressed in very unique clothing, very different from the time period that we're in right now. Who knows if it's people cosplaying, you know, being in like this time period, or other things like that. But definitely is a freaky place to visit. There's specific rooms, not too sure exactly which rooms they are, that people tend to rent out the most, as they feel that has the most activity. Here's more pictures of the boat as well. A lot of stuff over here. The view you could get from the boat. And yeah, fun place to visit for sure. Been there a few times, and I would recommend going if you haven't been there. Now, the last place on our little map here is the Roosevelt Hotel. This hotel was built in 1927. Some consider this era the golden era of Hollywood, as there was a lot of Hollywood movies during this time. A few years later, there were a few very famous guests that actually stayed in this hotel. Famous guests that stayed in this hotel are as Marilyn Monroe, Charlie Chaplin, and Shirley Temple. This hotel is unique too because it was also used for a lot of filming. There's a lot of movies that feature this hotel, a lot of the inside. I think there's a episode of I Love Lucy that was filmed in this hotel as well. Now, as you can see, this hotel is pretty cool. I think those light up red at night, so it makes for pretty cool. Stands out a lot. Has that fun Art Deco style. Definitely creepy. I'll get into that in a second. The dining hall. And I'll get into him in a second as well. Now, the suite that people tend to talk about the most is Suite 1200. And this was Marilyn Monroe. She used to stay in this room. A lot of people claim to see her spirit in here, specifically in this mirror right here. Some guests claim they'll look in this mirror and they'll see someone who looks very familiar of Marilyn Monroe, either behind them, look behind them, they're not there, or they just see her in the mirror. Don't really know much about that. Everything I searched up on it, that's pretty much the most detail they gave into. Another famous spirit that's around this is Montgomery Clift. If you don't know who Montgomery Clift is, he was a famous actor back during this time period as well. A lot of people claim that his spirit tends to just brush up against maids. He also plays the He also played the trumpet as well. Some people hear trumpet playing going on, even though there's no musicians in the hotel at that time. There was a psychic that did a whole reading and said that he saw him sitting in a chair right in front of him and just disappeared. Another spirit that people claim to be in this hotel, she goes by the name of Little Carolyn. She's a young spirit who wears a pink jacket and some jeans. People, when they come across this little girl, they think it's a normal little girl who's asking about her mom. went to try to go get help. She's back gone and nowhere to be seen at all. The staff that work there tend to see this little girl one corner, and then they see her not in another corner. They see her playing in playrooms and stuff like that. If it's real or not, definitely pretty freaky. Definitely a scary place to be. But yeah, so those are my haunted places in America. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys ever go out to these places, hopefully you have a little bit more information about them and other things like that.